I, an alpha CEO romance queen who can crack walnuts with her bare hands, have just been shoved into a business-arranged marriage with the supposedly cold-blooded iceberg ruler of Sterling. Wedding night. I dial my fragility up to 11, ready to negotiate 3 ironclad rules. He turns crimson, as jittery as a virginal prom date, and whispers, "See, could I hold hands while we sleep?" I short-circuit. "Where's the psychotic tycoon I ordered? This is the wrong SKU." Even wilder, I catch him secretly binge-reading my novels and copying the hero's moves to chase me. Watching him clumsily reenact my leading men, I finally lose it. Looks like this marriage just became non-refundable. I, Wendy, walnut-crushing web novel superstar, am now draped in a $1 million wedding gown, masquerading as a tender debutante who can't twist off a soda cap. Family orders: marry Julian, CEO of Sterling Group. Gossips say he's heartless, ruthless, the living Yama of Wall Street. Throughout the ceremony his face is a slab of ice. Frost radiates 3 yards in every direction. I curl my arm through his and feel like I've latched onto a walking popsicle. Inside I'm roasting with snark, outside I beam like a blushing Pinterest bride. Act. Please, I practically invented the playbook. Every heroine I write is a dewy little white blossom. Professional expertise. Check. The endless ritual finally ends. I'm delivered to the bridal suite. The cavernous room holds only us air congeals. I perch on the mattress, fingers knitted in my lap, chin lowered, the picture of pliant vulnerability. Secret plan: the second he heads for the shower, I'll flip the lock and divide and conquer the bed for the next 300 nights. Julian stands a few steps away, tall frame eclipsing the light, pressure cranks up. His inhaling. Good. Cue the main event. I gather my craft. The instant he speaks I'll redden my eyes, squeeze out crocodile tears, and whimper that I'm terrified. Ah! His voice is husky. I sniff hard, ready to debut my sob. I thrash around when I sleep. Might disturb you. Heh! Come again. I keep my head down, frozen. He hesitates, voice softer, threaded with a tremor I refuse to believe is nerves. The bed's huge. I'll cling to the edge, won't touch you. My stomach free falls. Script rewrite. Shouldn't he fling a contract and growl, "This is a contract marriage, don't dream of loving me"? I sneak a peek through my lashes. Under the amber light Julian's earlobes are stop sign red, gaze zigzags everywhere but my face. This is the living Yama. Wendy, his tone stretches tight, could I hold your hand to sleep? Pretty sure my ears filed for bankruptcy. I lift my head inch by inch and crash into his ink-dark eyes. No Arctic cruelty, only fidgety panic, and a plea? "I kinda can't sleep in strange beds," he adds, cheeks blazing, afraid I'll reject him. Picture it, Wendy, 6-figure monthly royalties, on her wedding night, begged by her alpha CEO groom for hand-holding. Brain. Blue. Screen. The universe has finally melted into something I no longer recognize. Next morning I surface to rustling fabric. Julian is already dressed, bespoke suit flawless, the untouchable glacier cape restored, only his knuckles quiver while he knots his tie. I play dead, lids sealed, as the mattress dips and cool fingertips graze my forehead. Feather light. My heart skips a full measure. He rises, footsteps hushed, the door closing on a ghost of sound. I blink at the ceiling, CPU still rebooting. Last night I let him take my hand. His warm palm caged mine till dawn. Around 3 a.m. he finally slid into deep sleep. This man, every tell blares red alert. My phone buzzes, Lexi on attack. Still breathing. Did the Yama eat you alive or just bite? I call back. His counterfeit, I announce. 3-second radio silence, then Lexi's cackle detonates. Counterfeit. Did you cup check the 8-pack? Silicon. Not those. I hiss. The persona is fake. He asked to cuddle hands while sleeping. Lexi chokes, switches from laughter to winded gasp. Wait, precious cinnamon roll high school boyfriend? You sure you married Julian, not his freshman brother? It's him. I yank my hair. I'm convinced all those horror story headlines are paid PR. Plot twist, she purrs, relishing the drama. So, continued waterworks performance. Show goes on, I smirk. Let's see how long he keeps this act. Call ended, I float out of bed, slip into a white sundress, hair river straight, face bare. Downstairs my brand new mother-in-law, Eleanor, sits amid sighs. A maintained, true-born gentlewoman, every line of her whispers pampered grace. Wendy, you're up. Breakfast, dear. Morning, Mom. She beams, but it wobbles at the edges. I settle at the table, maid delivering spreads worth a magazine spread. Between dainty spoonfuls I ask, Mom, something bothering you? Instant waterworks line her lashes. Oh, Wendy, I'm hopeless, bullied again. I barely dodge a spit take. Who on earth bullies the matriarch of the Sterlings? Eleanor squeezes my hand and spills. Yesterday she attended dames only to be skewered by her nemesis, nouveau-riche Mrs. Pratt. Mrs. Pratt crowed that her own daughter-in-law is Harvard-educated, then purred that Eleanor's, me, has merely a comparative lit degree, destined to be a housewife with zero upward mobility. Eleanor froze, white-lipped, come back at 0, then came home to sulk. My inner rage gremlin cartwheels. Romance authors worthless? My monthly advance could buy her 10 Birkins, cash. Tender new me can't throw punches. I sniffle on cue, tears filming. Mom, it's my fault, useless, embarrassing you. No, no. She flaps, instantly maternal. You're perfect, Pratt's the viper. While I sob, I fire off an SOS. Emergency. Mill bullied, deploy Lexi. Jamie location? Target profile? In 3 I'll turn her into a pea-shooter zombie. I type the intel. Lexi answers with a thumbs-up emoji. Mom, I dab my tears, gaze steely, we don't swallow this. Eleanor blinks. But I'm hopeless at comebacks. You talk, my friend talks better. I smile, sphinx-like. 30 minutes later 6-inch stilettos click across Sterling Manor marble, Lexi, hurricane in couture. She scans me, then the anxious Eleanor, and arcs that trademark smirk, 30% chill, 30% mock, 40% bored predator. Good morning, Mrs. Sterling. I'm Wendy's best friend, Lexi. Eleanor gawks. Lexi plants herself, voice velvet-coated steel. Point me at the target, Today I'm your megaphone, just aim and I'll fire. Over Eleanor's head 2 neon letters ignite, Savior. Inside Sapphire, the private spa the dames practically lived in, Mrs. Pratt was holding court, feathers spread like a preening peacock. Mom clutched my hand, her palm slick with nerves. Wendy, maybe we should just go? So many people. Mom, we're already here. I patted her fingers and flashed my best trust me smile. Lexi looked like a general ready to charge, rolling her shoulders, eyes razor sharp. The moment we stepped through the arch, the chatter dimmed. Mrs. Pratt spotted us and bared her veneers. Well, if it isn't Mrs. Sterling. Out in public today? I thought I'd sent you to bed with the vapors. Mom's face went scarlet. Before I could answer, Lexi strode forward. She looked Mrs. Pratt up and down as though scraping gum off a heel. Sorry, who are you again? Mrs. Pratt's smile froze. Did you just call me? Oops. Lexi pressed manicured fingers to her lips. With all those experience lines, I assumed you were housekeeping. The outfit's doing its best, though. A gasp rippled through the lounge. Society wives bit their cheeks to keep from laughing. Lexi didn't pause for breath. I hear your daughter-in-law went to Harvard, impressive. Our Wendy's only a humble bestseller. 1 advance would keep Harvard girl enrolled until she's collecting Social Security. Word is your husband's company wants in with Sterling. Shame, Wendy told Julian at breakfast your ethics smell like expired milk, so that deal's probably on life support. And that dress. Last year clearance, right? Wendy's rejects live in the dog basket, size tags still on. Every sentence struck like a scalpel. Mrs. Pratt's face ran the traffic light gamut red, white, green until her lips quivered and no sound came out. I clung to Mom's sleeve, eyes wide. Lexi, stop. Mrs. Pratt didn't mean it. My faux innocent whisper was the final straw. She clutched her pearls and fled, entourage scrambling behind her. Silence fell over Sapphire. Mom stared at Lexi, then at me, starstruck. Later, riding home, she kept squeezing my hand. Your friend is magnificent. That night Julian came in while I was brushing out my hair. I told him the saga like a bedtime joke. His stone-cold mask cracked. He studied me, voice soft. Your friend, she's fierce. She excels at clapback lines, I said, blinking sweetly. He went quiet, processing how his delicate wife owned a verbal assassin. After that his energy shifted. He lined my slippers by the bed each dawn, left warm milk on the nightstand if I was still up. Words remained scarce, though. The air between us stayed polite and prickly. A week later I was mid-scene in the study when the door edged open. He hovered, water glass in hand. In 3 strides he chair-pinned me, palms braced on the armrests, eyes burning with borrowed swagger. Woman, you've successfully captured my attention. Lightning strike second, I almost swallowed my tongue. His ears flamed red, the line sounded torn from a dime store novel. Playing along, my lashes trembled. I'm scared. He bolted upright, apologizing like a kid who'd broken a vase, and retreated so fast his slippers squeaked. I collapsed on the desk, howling silently 999 ha-has. Curiosity bit me. I sneaked into his off-limits study, slid open the bottom drawer, and froze. There lay my latest potballer, dog-eared and annotated. Margin gems, wall pin scene, will intimidate her. Requires mirror rehearsal. Black card splurge swap for Venmo transfer. Smirk and threat line core emotion. Practice growl. So the Ice King had been cramming fiction to become my fantasy hero. My heart melted and re-solidified as Canderglass, sweet, fragile. Idiot man. My idiot. I tiptoed out, head spinning, already plotting how to reward his earnest lunacy. The next morning, while Julian was scanning the financial news, I pretended to be casual. Hey, I've been craving tiramisu lately, I said, especially one made, by hand. He paused mid-page, lifting his eyes just enough to glance at me, then said nothing. I didn't mind, I kept playing my part. Too bad I'm all thumbs. I'd never pull it off. If only I had one of those perfect on-paper husbands from my novels, good in a boardroom, even better in the kitchen. With that I sighed softly and drifted back to my room. I knew he'd heard me loud and clear. After all, I'd stayed up most of the night to finish a brand new chapter in which the alpha CEO hero cheers the heroine up by cooking tiramisu himself. I'd even lingered on the sight of him in an apron, his back flexing over the counter, and on the indulgent look he gives her when he hands her the finished cake. That evening, while I was lounging in my room acting tragically lovesick, a maid knocked. Mrs. Sterling, the master would like you downstairs. My pulse danced. Showtime. I took the stairs at half speed and walked straight into a wall of scorched sugar. Me. Inside the kitchen, Julian was fluster-frozen in front of the oven, handsome face streaked with soot. A pink strawberry print apron hung off his broad frame, the visual hit like a freight train. Through the doorway I spotted Eleanor and the rest of the staff peering in, equal parts horror and fascination. Ahem, I announced. He stiffened, whirled around, and at the sight of me his ears blazed crimson. You came down. He tried for composure, his wandering gaze ruined it. I surveyed the carnage, black smoke billowing from the oven, flour and yolk everywhere, and fought a laugh. What, exactly, are you making? Tiramisu, he mumbled, voice mosquito small. Oh. I stepped close, rose on my toes, and brushed a smudge from his cheek with one lazy fingertip. How did my husband turn into such a messy little kitten? The instant my skin touched his muscles locked and his breath stopped. I watched his Adam's apple bob. It's my first attempt. Not great. Let me teach you. I slid behind him, arms circling his waist, chin resting on his shoulder, my hands guiding the whisk. Like this, same direction, steady rhythm. Front to back, I felt every ridge of his 8-pack abs turn to granite, his temperature skyrocketing. He stood frozen, a life-sized puppet. Got it now? I whispered against his ear. A full-body shiver. Why yes, got it. We never did eat tiramisu that night, but cradling the Ice King while he blushed down to his collarbone, hands fidgeting like a schoolboy, was sweeter than any dessert. At the Sterling family dinner, a cousin-in-law cornered me. She's always believed a girl from an ordinary background has no business marrying Julian. Cousin Wendy, I hear you scribble novels. She swirled her wine, smile razor-sharp. These days any keyboard puncher can string sentences together and con naive little girls. Her nearby relatives craned their necks, eyes gleaming for drama. I tightened my grip on my glass, face still soft and harmless. I just write for fun. Fun that landed you in our family? Her volume stayed low, yet every syllable carried. Impressive skills, cousin. My eyes misted. I dropped my gaze, shoulders trembling. Suddenly a steel-cool arm hooked me against a solid chest. Julian had appeared out of nowhere. He didn't even spare the woman a glance. He looked straight at her husband beside her. Control your wife. His voice could have frosted champagne. I won't repeat myself. Wendy is off limits. Next time, neither of you sets foot on Sterling property again. Silence detonated through the hall. Cousin-in-law's face bleached white. Her husband yanked her away, apologizing non-stop, the pair scurrying like reprimanded children. Julian turned to me. Arctic eyes melted into warm spring water. Awkwardly he rubbed the corner of my eye where no tear had fallen. Don't be afraid. I'm here. I stared up at him, stunned. That line, word for word, came from chapter 38 of The Billion-Dollar Contract Bride. Spoken aloud, paired with the anxious way he shielded me, it felt nothing close to corny. It set my heart on fire. He guided me out of the crowd. Mid-stride he bent, voice wobbling. Did I sound too brutal? Seeing the worry in his eyes, I burst out laughing, first unguarded laugh he'd ever heard from me. He froze. I rose on my toes and brushed a kiss to his cheek. Not brutal, I said, grinning. Heroic. Julian's system crashed. He stood statue still, fingers eventually drifting to the spot I'd kissed, lips twitching upward in a dazed, delighted smile. I dragged him to a quiet corner, still giddy, and decided Lexi had to know. Excusing myself to the powder room, I called her. I discovered the most insane secret ever. I spilled everything, Julian secretly reading my books, highlighting passages, taking notes. Lexi went silent for 10 solid seconds, then erupted into wheezing laughter loud enough to rattle the phone. Holy crap, Wendy. What kind of mythical hubby is this? He's using his wife's own manual to chase her. Top-tier comedy, no contest. Shush. I hissed. I swear I'm dying here, she gasped, finally catching her breath. So what now? You gonna let him keep flailing solo? Definitely not. I smirked. I'm about to raise the difficulty. Oh. Lex's gossip antennae quivered. Do tell. I'm writing something he'll never be able to copy. Back in the grand ballroom, Julian waited exactly where I'd left him, good as gold. The moment he spotted me his eyes lit up. Where'd you go? I thought you. Nowhere far. I slipped my arm through his and rested my head on his shoulder. My husband's here. Of course I'm staying right beside him. The single word husband turned him to stone again. I could practically feel the temperature in the limo spike all the way home. The instant we walked through the door, I sprinted to the study and booted up my laptop. Lex's dare echoed in my mind. Give him material that would trip him up. I cracked my knuckles and typed like a woman possessed. He stepped into the bedroom wearing nothing but a towel slung low across his hips. Beads of water traced every chiseled line of his 8-pack abs as he carried a heart-shaped breakfast tray to her bedside. In a voice rough with sleep and raw desire he murmured, "Baby, time to eat." Reading it back gave me goosebumps, good ones. I hit save, glowing with anticipation. Julian, my darling alpha CEO. Let's see you try this one on for size. The next morning I deliberately slept until the sun was high in the sky. I lay in bed, ears pricked for any noise outside. Sure enough, before long a clatter of pots and pans drifted up from the kitchen downstairs, followed by the acrid smell of something burning. I shut my eyes, my mouth curling wildly upward. About half an hour later a soft knock sounded at my door. Wendy, are you awake? It was Julian, sounding nervous. I let out a lazy nasal hum, pretending I'd just opened my eyes. The door swung inward. I squinted through my lashes. Then I saw a sight I'll never forget as long as I live. Julian stood in the doorway holding a tray. He'd actually gone through with it. He was bare-chested, every sharp line of his carved 8-pack abs on full display. A towel rode low on his hips, loose enough to slide off any second. His hair was still wet, droplets slid from the tips, traced his collarbones, and vanished into those tempting muscles. The visual packed more punch than anything I'd ever written. My heart hammered. My cheeks blazed. He walked toward me step by step, tray in hand. On it sat a glass of milk and a plate of black lumps whose original ingredients were anyone's guess. Apparently, this was his breakfast made with love. He bent over me and tried for what he imagined was the ultimate husky, magnetic whisper. Baby, it's time to eat. The voice shook with nerves, no huskiness, just a spectacular crack. I lost it. Phut! I shot upright, pointed at him, and laughed so hard I rocked back and forth, tears streaming. Julian's face flushed from red to beet purple in seconds. He stood frozen, clutching the charcoal disaster, looking like a kid whose lie had just been exposed. You. Ha ha ha, I couldn't speak. Julian, you're adorable. He'd probably never been called adorable in his life. He stayed rooted to the spot, earlobes so red they could drip, eyes a swirl of mortification and panic. When I finally calmed down, I threw the covers aside, padded over, and rose on tiptoe to poke his solid abs. Nice. Don't copy next time, I said, meeting his gaze. Like this, you're already perfect. He stared at me. In his dark pupils I saw myself, and emotions I couldn't read. But he finally found his voice. The book said you'd like it. My heart melted. So he'd done all this because a book claimed I would. The book's make-believe. I drew his hand to my chest. This is real. I like you, Julian. Not the cardboard, overbearing, cold stereotype. I like the real you, awkwardly learning how to treat me right, the one who flushes at a single word from me, the one who retracts every sharp edge when I'm scared. His pupils flared. The next second he tossed the tray aside and hauled me into his arms. His embrace was burning, tinged with burnt egg scent, yet it felt safer than anything in the world. Wendy, he murmured against my ear in his own clear, pleasant baritone, over and over, Wendy. Once the secret was out, Julian changed completely. He dropped the alpha CEO imitation. Though nerves still tripped him sometimes, he relaxed. Our vibe shifted from awkward roommates to an actual, slightly sappy newlywed couple. One afternoon I was in the study on a call with my editor, running through my next outline, when a male friend, fairly known in the suspense niche, rang me. Wendy, my new book's stuck in the mud. Come to brew and brainstorm with me. Sure. I agreed at once. I hung up and found Julian in the doorway, face dark. How long had he been there? You're going out, he demanded, tone frosty. A friend wants to talk shop. I didn't think twice. A man? Yep. His expression blackened, the air pressure nosedived. Only then did it click. He was jealous. I hid a grin and played innocent. Something wrong? Nope. He dropped the word like ice cubes and stalked away, looking at that sulking, broad back like a giant dog whose favorite toy had been snatched. I found him hilarious and cute. When I was ready to leave, he trailed me like a ghost. I stepped into the walk-in. He leaned by the door. I grabbed my purse. He blocked the foyer. CEO Sterling, any orders? I finally asked. I'll drive you, he grated out. No need, I can take my own car. I said, I'll drive you. His voice hardened, eyes stubborn. Fine. The ride to Brew was cold enough to form icicles. He didn't speak, jaw clamped, knuckles white on the wheel. At the cafe I undid my seat belt. He caught my wrist. Come back early. His gaze was all grievance. Got it. I smothered a laugh, freed my hand, and exited. My friend and I settled by the window, brainstorming, when I glanced across the street and spotted the unmistakable black Bentley. Julian sat behind the wheel, motionless, staring like a statue of a forlorn husband. I almost spit my latte. Could he be any more childish? My friend followed my gaze and chuckled knowingly. Your husband? Aha! I felt my cheeks warm. He cares a lot, he remarked. Watching that car, a wave of warmth flooded me. Right. He cares. In his own singular, clumsy, endearing way. When we finished, the Bentley glided up the instant I stepped out. I opened the door and climbed in. Done chatting? He asked, sour as vinegar. Yap. What was so funny? Nothing much. He praised my ideas and said he'll treat me to dinner next time so we can really dig in. No way, he barked. Realizing he'd roared, he pressed his lips together, turned away, and muttered, what's there to dig into? He hasn't read half the books I have. Looking at those crimson ear tips, I collapsed against the seat laughing. This contrary man, how could he be so lovable? We were so close even Mom started doubting reality. She cornered me repeatedly. Wendy, what love potion did you feed Julian? He's glued to you day and night. I could only smile. One evening Julian took me to a major charity auction. I wore the crimson gown he'd chosen. Against my skin it looked like snow against fire. He stared, speechless, and finally squeezed out, beautiful. The ballroom glittered with names and money. Julian guarded me, practically stapled to my side, swatting away every approaching male. Possession radiated off him in waves. Mid-auction the chandeliers flickered, then total blackout. Screams erupted in the darkness. "Don't move," Julian said instantly, pulling me behind him. His steady voice grounded me. Overhead came a metallic groan. The gigantic crystal chandelier was coming loose. "Watch out." I shoved Julian aside on pure reflex. A thunderous crash, the massive fixture smashed exactly where I'd stood, shards exploding outward. A beat later the emergency lights glowed. Everyone stared at the glittering wreckage. Julian scrambled to me, eyes wild. "Wendy, are you hurt?" His voice cracked, near tears. I shook my head, still dazed. He ran his eyes over me from head to toe, making sure I was unharmed before he yanked me into a bone-crushing hug, as if he meant to press me straight into his marrow. I could feel his body shaking, completely out of control. He had really been terrified. Only then did the people around us snap out of their daze. Oh my God, did Mrs. Sterling just shove Mr. Sterling out of the way? She's so fast and crazy strong. Holy crap, that move was downright heroic. The comments hit my ears and my stomach lurched. I was done for. My carefully crafted persona had just imploded. Stiffly, I tipped my head back to look at Julian. What would he think? Would he decide I'd been lying to him all along? In the dim light, he stared down at me, those gorgeous eyes of his not shocked or suspicious as I'd expected, but blazing alight with something like awe and fierce pride. "Wife," he said, beaming like a fool, "you were incredible." The ride home was dead silent. My persona was now confetti. He's had apparently flown off to another galaxy. We were finally seeing each other raw. I was sweating bullets, palms slick, clueless how to start explaining. He broke the silence first. "So," he murmured, eyes flicking to me between watching the road, "you're not the delicate type at all?" "MMMM." My answer came out mosquito small. Twist-off caps, walnut shells, even taking down thugs, none of it phases you? My face combusted. Not quite that dramatic. He laughed, low, smooth, bright, and the sound filled the hushed cabin. "What's so funny?" I snapped, mortified. "I'm laughing at how dense I was." He turned, his dark eyes glittered in the night. "I actually believed you needed me to protect you. And you." I mustered the guts to fire back. "You're not the iceberg CEO you pretend to be, are you?" His cheeks tinted. He cleared his throat. I've been studying to be a textbook alpha CEO?" I rolled my eyes. "Pretty much." He even nodded solemnly. "According to the manuals, women love that." I lost every shred of exasperation. We looked at each other. No telling who cracked first, but we were both suddenly laughing, soft snickers swelling into loud, helpless howls until tears streaked our cheeks. Like two idiots, we laughed away months of masks, cat-and-mouse games, and insecurity. We'd each tried so hard to become whoever the other might want, never guessing that what actually magnetized us was the unfiltered soul underneath. When the giggles subsided, he restarted the engine. "Wendy," he said abruptly. "Chem, stop pretending from now on, okay?" His gaze stayed on the road, voice iron-sure. "I love you, the walnut crusher, the thug kicker, the woman who writes achingly tender love stories and throws herself in front of danger for me. Every version of you, give it all to me. I want it." My heart felt cradled by a warm hand aching, swelling, fizzing with sweetness. "Same deal," I whispered, eyeing his profile. "Quit reading those trashy guides." I never fell for some smirking cardboard CEO. I fell for the Julian who blushes when I tease him, who secretly learns to cook for me, who sulks like a kid when jealous, who shakes with fear when I'm in danger, the real you. The car halted at a red light. He twisted toward me, looked long and deep. The next second he leaned across and kissed me. No more hesitation, no shy brushing, only joy at almost having lost each other, and a tidal wave of finally unleashed love. After we laid all our cards on the table, life turned honeysweet. I quit faking fragility, he quit Ice King cosplay. Typical household scene now, me at my laptop in the study, cussing characters out for being useless while Julian tiptoes in with a fruit platter, whispering, "Sweetheart, maybe a break?" And Eleanor, after witnessing my real side, upgraded me to goddess status. She'd graduated from asking Lexi and me to fight her battles. These days she begs me to teach her signature clapback lines. On any given afternoon at Sterling Manor you'll find Eleanor and me huddled together dissecting the verbal smackdowns in my novels while Julian's father the tycoon shakes his head in fond resignation. Our one-year contract was nearly up. Dad's company, bolstered by Sterling's backing, had long since clawed out of crisis and now cruised steady. This marriage born of transaction looked ready for its closing chapter. That evening my parents invited us to dinner. At the table Dad rubbed his palms, embarrassed. "Julian, we owe you so much this past year. Our Wendy hasn't caused you any trouble, has she?" "Dad, Wendy is the best wife imaginable," Julian said, lacing his fingers through mine. Mom and Dad glanced at our joined hands, traded looks, and beamed. After the meal, Dad led me to the study and pulled a folder from a drawer. "Divorce papers. Wendy, we wronged you back then," he said, eyes reddening. "Now the company's fine, and the year is up. If you're unhappy, you can." Staring at those papers, my insides knotted. A year ago I'd have killed for them. Now they scorched my palms like a branding iron. I carried them home. Julian was in the study poring over work. I hovered at the door, then forced myself inside. "Julian." He looked up, gaze dimming when he spotted the folder. "My dad gave me this." I set it on his desk. He studied the document for an age, so long I thought he'd simply sign. "What do you want?" he asked at last, voice rough. I don't. How could I say don't leave me? Too shameless. "I get it." He picked up a pen, leaving me no room to finish. My heart nosedived. He was going to sign. Of course, it had only ever been a contract to him. I sniffed hard, fought tears, and spun to leave. His hand shot out and caught my wrist. Instead of signing, he pulled another file from the drawer and slid it toward me. Bold title: Lifetime Partner Cooperation Agreement. Party A, Julian. Party B, Wendy. Cooperation content: one life, never apart. At the bottom, no signature blanks, just a single red wax seal waiting for a thumbprint. "Wendy," he whispered, arms slipping around me from behind, chin resting in the hollow of my shoulder, voice trembling. I tore up that other contract. "Let's sign this one, okay?" I stared at the absurd, heartfelt lifetime partner cooperation agreement, and tears fell like rain. You absolute idiot." I turned, pounding his chest. He didn't flinch, just stood there grinning like a dope. "So will you spend your life with this idiot?" He squeezed my hands, eyes brilliant. Half crying, half laughing, I rose on my toes and crushed my mouth to his. "I will." That night, at last, was our real wedding night. No more disguises, no more dance of suspicion, only truest selves and searing love. He held me, murmuring over and over, "Wife, I love you," not from some book, but because my heart tells me to. My chest felt utterly, blazingly full. I woke the next morning refreshed. Julian still slept. I poked his peaceful face. My phone buzzed, Eleanor calling. "Wendy. Emergency. Mrs. Pratt's back, and this time she brought her Harvard daughter-in-law as reinforcement. I'm drowning." I chuckled at her near sobs and patted my man awake. "Husband, rise and shine. He blinked drowsily. "No more lazy bones." I threw off the covers and kissed him. "Come on, time to level up together." Recognition flickered. He gave me that helplessly fond smile. He rolled out of bed, dressed in record speed. Sunlight sliced through the curtains and gilded him. Hand extended, eyes curved in a grin, he said, "Lead the way, my queen." I took that hand, fingers interlaced. Our ridiculous, sugar-spun life was only beginning. And this time we fought side by side, each the other's stanchest ally and sweetest teammate. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, How would you rate it? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. We look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fantastic tales. See you next episode.